many players throughout Jailbreak's history have become quite renowned for their sheer amount of money and playtime in the game. They have shared their strategies for others to use and maybe get rich as well. These strategies have shifted throughout the years, but the concept has remained pretty much the same. This is the history of Jailbreak's richest players and the evolution of their methods. We will first look back at 2018, where some of the richest players were just crossing the 100 million mark. There were less robberies back then, so you would have to time them right to make the most amount of money as possible. The train was the most important and sophisticated robbery to master during this time. The goal was to rob it when it was available, and using the freeze or lag trick to essentially no-clip through train cars. This glitch also inspired methods we will discuss later on. Using this glitch, you were able to get around $9,600, the same amount what the modern day casino and oil rig offer today. For a quick moving robbery, this was the best way to get money. Some of the richest players at the time were Nexus with around 106 million, XXX Deadpool with around 110 million, and Dribby with around 103 million. Numbers that were completely unheard of at the time. These players would play all day, every day, just to grind money in the game. But things would change as time goes on. Next, we take a look at 2019, mainly early 2019. The popular train glitch many PC players used was patched after the passenger train update released, though it had started to become much easier to gain $1 million or more every day with the addition of new robberies, allowing for grinders to not feel less pressured. Later in the year, after the introduction of the power plant, stacking robberies became way more mainstream than ever before. You were able to do this in 2018, though this was not as known in the community. Stacking the museum and the power plant was key as it minimized travel time, saving tons of time that could be used elsewhere. After the introduction of the cargo plane, most ignored it as it was slow and inconsistent. Most grinding sessions often skipped it entirely in favor of the trains and jewelry store, which could be completed much quicker. Some of the most notable players at the time include Carl with around 206 million, iMatic with around 300 million towards the end of the year, and XK with over 175 million at the beginning of the year. It should also be known that during this time, some of these rich players were banned for supposedly cheating. Many weren't banned after their bans being proven false, but some were actually caught cheating. It was thought they were cheating because of the amount of time they put into the game. It was almost unrealistic the amount of time they spent each day on the game. Granted, they had their reasons, but some were actually cheaters, which questioned the legitimacy of some other players. This would only be one of many controversies in the game. "2020 was probably the biggest and most controversial year yet for Jailbreak rich players. In 2020, the top richest players were crossing the 500 million mark, with one crossing 1 billion in July. The first time this has ever happened. Although the strategies during this time remained almost the same, there was controversy surrounding the richest player at the time, Leah. She was the first player to reach 1 billion cash and received her own vehicle for doing so. However, people found out she had some help from other rich players who sent her saves. When you look back, it is kind of strange somebody managed to get from 0 to 1 billion in approximately a year and a half. It seems almost impossible for anyone to hit 1 billion that fast. This was only the tip of the iceberg though. Right after receiving her own vehicle, she had pretty much quit the game. As Simo stated, "It's a major drain of resources for just one person to grab." He also stated, "I don't think we should have even made the Leah." He's essentially saying that it's not exactly worth making a vehicle that only one person will use, especially if they're just going to quit anyways. Even though there's almost 14 people who have crossed the 1 billion mark so far, Leah is still the only person who has the Leah spaceship, or any custom vehicle. Although it would be nice for players to receive an item for achieving a certain milestone, I don't think that'll ever happen again. Not much changes throughout 2021 and 2022, but in 2023, a user named ArkEmerald5 hits 1 billion, the first and only player without game passes to hit 1 billion. He even overtakes Leah at 1.12 billion sometime in 2024 to become the new richest player ever at 1.2 billion. Another user named Jackboy in JSJS becomes the third player to hit 1 billion at the end of 2023 and later becomes the richest player in 2025 after overtaking ArkEmerald5. This was all during a time where one of the most controversial updates to date came out: robbery groups. Robbery groups made it much more difficult to grind cash efficiently. It was slow and it forced players to play a certain way, rather than be more of a free-for-all. Also during this time, airdrops were revamped to actually have difficulty to getting them, along with much better rewards, along with the mansion invite. Players quickly found tricks to skip the fight altogether by crouching under the crate, using ambulances, and using the old freeze trick from 2018. Each had downsides, however. Crouching and freezing the crate sometimes flagged the anti-cheat and would kick you after completion. Using ambulances worked briefly, but it wasn't very efficient as you'd often get swarmed and die. Each of these tricks also made you vulnerable to opposing team members. The last trick was patched in the Epic update in October of 2025. After all that, the richest players at the time were Ark with 1.2 billion, Leah with 1.12 billion, Jackboy with approximately 1.05 billion, and Holiday crossing 1 billion in June of 2024. After the removal of robbery groups, the overall strategy has changed drastically. Many chose to stick to regular grinding, but a whole new method became mainstream after a YouTuber named Yukol uploaded a video titled "How I Made 100 Million in 30 Days." In his video, he shows off a different method of grinding nobody thought worked: bounty hunting. He inspired many players like myself to use it and push it to its limit. Since then, players have pushed bounty hunting so far it would blow Yukol's attempt out of the water, with a couple of players pushing over 10 million in a single day, with the help of server snipers like Jailbreak changelogs and Muffin Hook. Near the end of 2025, one of these bounty hunters named Leo becomes the first player ever to hit 1 billion on controller. In 2026, 6 players have crossed the 1 billion mark: Zane, RCRNTX, also known as Foles, Jin Boys, Andre Marias Mayorga, Steven, and myself. We all hit 1 billion within the first half of 2026, with 2 more on the way, expected to hit 1 billion sometime this month. As of June 11, 2026, the entirety of the top 10 is players who have hit 1 billion. Jackboy in first, Knight V7 or Snipex in second, Jin Boys in third, Ark in fourth, Zane in fifth, Holiday in sixth, Leo in seventh, Leah in eighth, myself in ninth, and Andre in 10th. Leah is expected to fall out of the top 10 sometime this year, after myself and another player pass her, sometime this year. With the increase in players reaching the top 50, my expectation is that within the next year or so, we will have another 5 players after Miku and Fab hit or be close to 1 billion. Cash is just much easier to get. Thus more players are getting it as far as 500 million. flooding the top 100 charts. Strategies have shifted quite a lot in recent times, whether it be from intentional patches or controversial updates. As time goes on, we can expect many different things to happen. We can expect these to change within the upcoming live event, and the amount of players to hit 1 billion continue to grow. Cash is easier to grind now more than ever before, making the milestone of 1 billion much easier to achieve compared to 5 years ago. And with older players quitting the game, the leaderboards will continue to be flooded by newer players, replacing older and/or slower grinders, thus resulting in the leaderboard being more difficult to get on. That will end the video. If you enjoyed this type of content, let me know in the comment section.